Hello, and welcome to District 15's Parent University on Developing Engaged Readers, presented by the Department of Teaching and Learning. My name is Janice Mattheis. I'm the Director of Innovation and Instructional Technology here in the district, and joining me this evening is my colleague, Emily McFadden, who is one of our Directors of Curriculum and Instruction. We're so glad that you could be here with us this evening. Before we get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Department of Teaching and Learning. We have many responsibilities, some of which include curriculum development, student assessment, staff development, instructional technology integration, libraries, fine arts, and report cards. Tonight's Parent University is just one of many. Please visit ccsd15.net, resources, Parent University, for links to this session's recording, past Parent University materials, as well as upcoming session dates.
Hi, this is Emily McFadden, and I'm one of the directors of Curriculum and Instruction here in District 15. Tonight's plan is to talk about literacy here in District 15, what our instruction looks like, and our libraries. We'll also talk about why reading with kids is important, how to help choose books, engaging your child in reading, public and digital libraries, and World Read Aloud Day. We have multiple ways that students can engage and access books here in District 15. The first is in the classroom. All of our K-6 classes, as well as our 7th and 8th grade English Language Arts classes, have classroom libraries. In these spaces, students are allowed to choose and self-select books that they are interested in reading. Additionally, we have literacy blocks here in our district that allow students the opportunity to engage in reading both independently, in small groups, and as whole class. So, for example, we have interactive read alouds, where teachers will read a mentor text for all students to engage in. Other times, we have opportunities for kids to self select what they want to read independently on topics of their own choosing. We also offer book clubs for our students, where students and peers can choose like books and read them together and talk about them. Additionally, we want to ensure that we have a variety of texts available for students: fiction, nonfiction, novels, other areas that are of interest to them. So, we're very excited that we get to offer those things. Additionally, we have our libraries. Our libraries are robust and filled with lots of updated and new books, as well as classics. And District 15 has been upgrading and updating both these resources and spaces starting in the 2022 school year and moving forward. We're excited to offer kids lots of spaces and opportunities to find reading materials that are valuable and meaningful for them. So let's talk a little bit about why reading with kids at home is important. There's a variety of research saying that reading with children at home helps them in both in life and in school. Kids who read at home are better prepared to see words in print when they enter school. There's a familiarity to them when they come to school and see things that they've been seeing at home. Additionally, when you read with your child, it's equating reading with positive experiences like connection and warmth. So kids see reading as something good and something that they can do both by themselves and with people. Also, reading with children allows them to learn a variety of vocabulary beyond conversational words that occur on a day-to-day basis. And finally, by reading at home, it actually helps create pathways in their brains so that students can pick up reading and reading skills more quickly and easily.
Let's take a couple of minutes to talk about choosing books. You can encourage a love, joy, and passion for reading by getting the books that your kids want to read in their hands. There's a few ways that you can do this. First, start by looking at favorite authors or genres. In our school libraries, we have genreified our fiction sections. So if your student likes fantasy or sports or historical fiction, they can find those books by genre on the shelves. Another great place to find ideas for good books for your children is to talk to your family members or friends, see what they're reading, and also read book reviews. Booklist is one of my favorite places to find new books. In both your public and school library, there's always new books displays with beautiful brand new books on all sorts of different topics that your student may want to check out. One of my favorite ways of deciding if a book is something that I'm interested in is going to the back of the book first. So many books will have great information about the author, the contents, the stories, the background of why this book was written, maps and timelines, and ideas for projects. Start by looking at the back of the book, and you might find some real hidden gems. Also, give the book a chance. Don't just look at its cover, read a few pages. If it sounds good, check it out. There's always the online catalog, too, to search for and reserve books. In our school district, it's called Destiny Discover. And all of our librarians have provided instructions for our students on how to use it to find books. And then think about, what are your personal interests? Nonfiction is such a powerful way to improve reading skills and engage kids in new ideas. Have them check out the nonfiction sections on the things that they're interested in. And then finally, look for readability. What are the pictures like? How big is the text? How many pages are there in the book? This can really help determine whether a book is just right for your student.
So let's talk about how to engage your child in reading, specifically at home. We have some tips for encouraging reading. We know not all kids love to read. Some take a book and will choose to go curl up in a corner somewhere, and you have to pry the book from their hands to get them to stop reading. Other kids, it is a real hard battle to get them to want to pick up anything and read. That's all normal. However, we want kids to start to see that reading can be an activity, or you can actually read for enjoyment, not just to accomplish something or work on something at school. So, here are some tips for helping make that happen in your house. The first is, allow kids to read the same books multiple times. There are kids who will latch on to a single story or a series, and you may think, oh my gosh, my child has read this book at least 15 times. That's okay. It means that they are still engaging in the thinking and reading process. And if they're in tune with a certain book or certain characters, that's okay. We want them to read for enjoyment. And if that's the goal, it doesn't matter that they're reading the same thing over and over. The next thing is, connect with their reading to the real world. Even if it's a fantasy book, talk to your kids about their reading. Explain to them how what they're reading can connect to other topics or other things. This can help them see that while maybe they love one book or one topic, there's other pieces that can link to that helps further their interests. Also, praise the effort, not the amount of reading. It's not about the amount of books, the amount of pages, or even the amount of time. For some kids, if you can get them to read for a few minutes, great. Praise them for that effort. We want kids to feel a sense of success no matter how long or short they're reading, because the better they feel about the process, the more likely they are to engage in it. Also, allow for choice in reading. Kids are going to find their own path of what interests them, and they're going to figure that path out by the more opportunities they have to self explore different topics. So, you may be thinking, my child keeps reading graphic novels. That's okay. If that's their entry point into reading and thinking and using those visual clues to create and connect, wonderful. We want that. So you're going to want to allow kids to continue to choose what they want to read. This will in turn also self motivate them to, again, wanting to continue to read. And finally, you're going to want to encourage reading as a free time activity. We know that sometimes reading can be seen as an activity for a specific end in mind, whether you are reading for a class, reading for information so that you can write a paper, reading because, quite frankly, you've been told you have to read. But what we want them to see is that reading, especially when you allow for choice, gives kids the autonomy to see that reading can be a pleasurable activity, something that they can engage in independently, can talk about with people, can explore and have them open the doors to other topics of interest. So, again, we want them to see reading as an activity that can be done anytime, any place, and that they get to have ownership of. So, let's talk about some tips for fostering reading together. All reading opportunities have the ability and opportunity to be positive experiences for kids, and they're important and valuable to spend time in trying to build. So, first, one of the things you can do is read aloud books to your child. They can be picture books, it could be a chapter book, it can be any book that you and your child are excited about reading. You're going to want to do that as much as possible. Also, you can start a book club in your house. Especially as kids get older, they may not want read aloud time as much. However, you can start to find common interests with your child and find a book that both of you could read. It doesn't even have to be a book, it could actually be an article of some sort that maybe your child is interested in the topic and you both read and discuss together. Visiting the library is key. We know that libraries have a variety of opportunities and resources within easy reach of everybody in the community. So we highly recommend finding times to go together to find books, magazines, any types of resources that you and your child will be excited about reading. Also, as adults, we want to model our own reading. It's hard to tell kids to go read for pleasure and fun if they never see us as adults doing the same. You don't even have to read the same things as your child. Your child seeing you engage in reading tells them that reading is valuable, an important piece of time, and worthy. So, modeling your own reading is very important for kids to see so they know that that's just a normal, everyday activity that we all do. Let kids read what they love. It's not worth fighting over with your child about what they're reading. If they are reading something and they're excited about reading, we want them to have this choice and opportunity to read what feels meaningful for them. This allows them to build their own agency as a reader, and they'll develop their own identity as a reader as well. So, while you may wish that they were reading something that you loved as a child, it's okay if they don't want to read that right now. Getting them to read and be excited about reading is the end goal. And finally, talk about it. Ask your child what they're reading. Ask them what makes them excited about what they're reading. Or ask them if they don't like what they're reading, why? What's happening in whatever they're reading, or what's the topic that maybe is causing them to not engage as much as they normally would? That's okay. We've all read things that we don't care for, but that's part of developing that reader identity. It's figuring out what makes you excited and eager to read versus what feels a bit more like a chore. So, here are some options for how you could have some conversations at home about what your child is reading. The first is ask your child what they're reading. Find out the topic, the story. Ask them what's interesting. Ask them what they're thinking about. Leaving open ended questions for children allows them to just start talking to you about whatever it is they're thinking about in relation to their reading. Also, tell your child what you're reading. Tell them about the topic. Tell them what's interesting. Tell them what you like about what you're reading. You don't have to give them all of the details of something that may not be age appropriate, but you could talk to them if you like the way a writer is writing something. Or maybe you just really think the character is interesting. Talk to your kids about that so you're modeling for them what you're hoping the conversations you have with them look like. Also, connect your child's interests to reading. If you know your child really loves baseball, find books that can be about that topic. Or maybe they're really interested in the weather and what's going on outside. Have them start to use reading or what their interests are to link to find readings that may further their knowledge. And also, don't force questions on reading. You can have just a simple conversation and see where it goes. You don't have to have read what your child has read in order to talk about it. It's just like talking about TV and movies. You get to talk about all of the things you love and maybe some of the things you don't love. And you get to share and explain all of the exciting ways that they can use reading in their lives.
We've talked a lot about libraries this evening, and I'd like to take a couple of minutes to highlight a couple of our libraries as well as one of our digital libraries. So, the Palatine Public Library can be accessed at www.palatinelibrary.org. They have a beautiful new space where there's places to learn and play and read and meet and study. They have a beautiful collection of books on all different topics and reading and for different reading levels. They provide different reading programs to encourage students to read. You can check out STEM kits. They have many online resources as well as special events and programming. And then our amazing Rolling Meadows Public Library, that can be found at www.rmlib.org. And they have a library app that you can download onto your phone, an amazing collection of books and online resources. They even have an online story time that you can listen in on. They too have special events and programming and will provide you with book lists that can help you make some of those selections that we were talking about a little earlier. I'm super excited to tell you about Sora. Sora is an online digital library that is available to all Palatine District 15 students. To find Sora, you go to soraapp.com, select Palatine District 15, and simply log in with your Google account. You can explore all of the books they have in both the Palatine Public Library digital collection as well as the Digital Library of Illinois. There are tens of thousands of books available digitally through this resource. There are ebooks and audiobooks. You can reserve books. You can even see your reading stats. How many books have I checked out? How many minutes have I spent reading? There's also language and assistive support as well. I hope that you will check out these resources with your students so that you can encourage their love of reading. We'd like to finish up tonight's presentation by sharing with you a really exciting event, World Read Aloud Day on February 1st. World Read Aloud Day calls attention to the importance of sharing stories, and it challenges participants to grab a book and an audience and read aloud. There's a website, it's called the World Read Aloud Activity Hub, and there's all sorts of ideas and how you can participate in this amazing event. But we're going to be celebrating World Read Aloud Day in District 15 too, with a whole menu of events, including in-person and virtual read alouds with our principals and other special guests. Thank you for joining us for this evening's Parent University on developing engaged readers. Please be sure to visit ccsd15.net Parent University to learn about upcoming Parent University events. Some of the topics include the importance of using positive language with children, supporting math learning at home, developing language over the summer, and another hour of code. We look forward to learning with you in the future. Have a great evening.